I'm standing out front of City Hall in Washington, Iowa. It's January 17th, Friday, January 17th, 50 degrees outside. Can you believe it? I'll take it every day. Uh, Important day today. The Washington Chamber is sponsoring a legislative briefing with Heather Hora and Don Driscoll. And I'm going to take you inside for that. The ladies and the citizens that attended, it was well attended, packed house, and had lots of questions from everything from agricultural concerns to school vouchers and a lot of other stuff in between. This episode is brought to you by Griner Auto Body of Washington, Iowa, using state-of-the-art techniques and decades of experience to get your car back on the road after an accident. Car Doctor of Washington, Iowa. No matter who Frankensteined it, they can fix and clean and customize it. McDonald Boneyard of Keota, Iowa, for all of your farm equipment and auto recycling needs. Hinshaw Trailer Sales of Richland, Iowa. You need a trailer, they've got your trailer, and they fix what they sell and don't in their full-time repair shop. Girling Repair of Winfield, Iowa. If your mower is dead, call Fred, your Husqvarna, Aaron's, and Gravely dealer. Fred also fixes and sells snow blowers. B&B Propane and the family of Jet Stops. The Dutch Market and Coffee Talk of Washington, Iowa. Dutch Market, they've got all your grocery needs, and they've also got a conference room that you can book for business meetings or family events, and it's free. So give them a call today. And Coffee Talk has their drive-through window open, so you can pull right up and order what you'd like, baked goods, sandwiches, all that kind of good stuff, or call ahead. And they all present Southeast Iowa Today. And I should say the award-winning Southeast Iowa Today. I'm John Bain, author of Christie's Journey, The Beat Goes On, and your host. Let's go inside to the briefing.
To start right on time and end on time. My name is Millie Youngquist. I'm the mayor of Washington, so the city is very happy to serve as the host site for this event today, and it's good to see a room full of people. Without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Redlinger, who is the executive director of the Washington Chamber of Commerce. That is the organization that is officially sponsoring this event, and she'll give us the rules and how things are going to proceed. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Millie. Like she mentioned, I'm Michelle Redlinger with the Washington Chamber. It's our honor to offer these legislative briefings as a way to ask questions and give comments and learn from our area legislators. We are changing things up a little bit from those who joined us last year. You'll notice we've got a nice timer on the screens here so we can try to keep everything flowing, moving forward. Bear with me, this will be our first time testing it out, and if we get down a little bit shorter or whatnot, I'll have to kind of manipulate the screen a bit. But I do want to let you know that the Chamber of Commerce is a nonpartisan organization. Our role here is to facilitate the conversations between our elected officials and the community members. Today's event will begin with an update from our legislators, and then we will each of them will have 10 minutes to give an update on what they've been doing on their first busy week back at the Capitol, and then we'll turn it over to questions and comments from the public. And so we're just going to go right through the rows, and if you have something, we ask that you stand, you ask your question or make your comment within 30 seconds or less, and then our legislators here have 2 minutes collectively to respond. And that way we hope that we can get through everybody in a timely fashion. If you vote, if you're a registered voter outside of Washington County, we do have these slips available at the sign-in table for you, so you can put your question or comment and then leave it so you can get a response here after the event. But since the Washington Chamber is an organization that primarily serves the city of Washington, and then even more, a little of our greater Washington County, we want to make sure that our question and comment time is available for the voting members within our community. So we appreciate your understanding in that, so we can make sure that our community members have a chance to participate. Restrooms are right outside the door here to the right, and this would be a good time to remind everybody to silence your cell phones if you have not already done so. All right, I think I'm done a little bit early, so any questions on the format for today? Okay, well then thank you, and welcome here. Donna, we have busy schedules, and that's why we're doing the timers here. So I'm gonna get into position here, and our state senator, Don Driscoll, is gonna begin with an update, and here we go. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having us here today. We are only 4 days into the session, so this week was filled with Governor Reynolds' address. We were able to listen to the Supreme Court Justice and the National Guard this week, so listening to their priorities. Bills in the Senate are just starting to drop this new legislative session, and I know that a priority in the Senate, and I would assume in the House as well, from what we heard from across the district, is we will be trying to tackle property taxes again this session, and we are unsure, exactly the technicality. We haven't seen a bill yet dropped on that, but I know that the Ways and Means, both committee chairs have been working for a long time on working on the property tax bill that will be proposed and dropped this session. So what we know so far, and I can go over just really quick, as far as what we know is like what the governor's priorities are. Her proposed budget this year is 5.4% higher this year than it was last. Like the major increases in her address and her major priorities are like education increases this session. Something that I think, for me on the ag side, well, I guess I can talk about what committees I'm on again this session. My committees did change a little bit. I'm still the chair of the Ag Committee for the next 2 years this session. We don't have anything major coming out of Ag this year. We met with, I had a lobbying day this December, and met with all the major Ag groups that, or anybody who wanted to speak with me, and the focus this year is on supporting the foreign animal disease and making sure that we can appropriate more money to foreign animal diseases for the state of Iowa. And so we won't be having a lot of bills come out of the Ag Committee this year. So, and then I'm also on Workforce. A new committee for me this year will be Commerce. I'm still on state government, local government, and Ways and Means. So I have a heavy workload as far as committees go, and I swapped out natural resources for Ways and Means. So, but like I said, back to what we do know as far as the governor's priorities. Education increases this year as far as spending goes. Something that I was excited to see was, she wants to put more money in for the vet diagnostic lab, which, will directly impact the livestock industry and supporting them. The Health and Human Services side, they will be increasing, she has a proposal for increasing that money, and I was excited to see the increase for Medicaid and for Hawkeye. I think I was excited to see that. Yep, more money for the vet diagnostic lab for that. appropriating more money for the judicial branch as well. The Attorney's General Office will be asking for more money for victim assistant grants, so that will be also good. The road use tax fund and the primary road tax fund she's proposing an increase for that as well. You know, policies that she's going to be working on is disaster assistance, education. You know, she spoke about the cell phone usage, you know, in the high schools or in the schools, improve on math and problem solving skills. It would be that she spoke about those. Another part would be the pre-K child care partnership. That was exciting to hear too. We're established an early childhood program to provide 3-year-old grants for preschool programs. As far as healthcare policy-wise, you know, supporting Medicaid waivers to implement work requirements for that. Maternal health, she's gonna focus on that as well. Let's see. Commerce, she spoke about the nuclear energy task force, which I thought was interesting to hear her talk about, and so I'm excited to be on Commerce this year and hear more about what is going to be proposed for that. And workforce, she spoke about the unemployment insurance reforms that she's planning on doing. I think that she touched on that last year towards the end of session, so I know that they have been working on that for all summer and all fall, seeing how that they can help the businesses with that, and creating a healthcare grant for employers to train and educate areas for nursing and CNAs and LPNs, which I also thought was that was great, and to reinstate the Teach Iowa platforms for all education related job postings. So as far as committees, you know, legislation that we're working on, we're starting off right away on Tuesday. I have my first sub on Tuesday. I've introduced this bill for the last this will be my 3rd year of introducing a county supervisor bill for districting populations over 125,000. So we will be kicking off the session with that bill, and I'm doing that sub on Tuesday. So as far as other bills that we will be working on the Senate, we haven't really caucused yet this season or this session, as far as talking about everything as far as bills dropping, so that will really start next week. So that's all I have.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, and I'm obviously Heather Hora. I represent this district 92. We started off with caucusing, so there is a big difference between the House and Senate in caucus, because we caucus things to death. The Senate rarely caucuses. So my committees this year, we have a new committee, higher ed. So the speaker put me on higher ed. I am also on education for the 2nd session. I am on the education budget. So I am the only House member that is on all 3 education committees. I am also on agriculture and on state government. So this will be my 1st year on state government. I was on agriculture obviously last session. Also, the caucus elected me as assistant majority leader, so that puts me in a position where I meet with leadership and convey what the caucus is thinking, what we're hearing back home, and drive the leadership, the bills that are actually, you know, something that we feel that the state of Iowa, the constituents are asking for. I would say that, let's see, I would agree, like National Guard, we're gonna work with them on an absentee policy, because right now the chronic absentee bill kind of put them in a bind where these kids have to be gone for guard and things like that. So we're gonna adjust that. I love the governor's priority of math. If any of you have kids in school, when you had the math that you didn't understand and they were actually trying to teach parents how to teach their kids the new math, there will be no more new math. It's gonna go back to traditional math. Yeah, right? Yes. When she said that, I knew that people would love that because I get more complaints about new math. So we're gonna go back to, just like we did teaching phonics and reading last session, we're going back to teaching real math this session. Not to say that there aren't kids that have trouble in math and you can always pull them aside and teach them a different way, but we're gonna go back to traditional math that works. Property tax reform, yes, number one, probably priority of the House. We don't know what that's gonna look like. I'm not on Ways and Means. We entrust Bobby Kaufman to run our ways, and you know, he does a fantastic job, and I have no doubt that they're working diligently to try to figure out the best way to cut property taxes without hurting the local governments. I love the fact that we're turning our direction towards a nuclear energy option. We're very excited about that because the only true clean energy is nuclear energy, and it is about time that we focus on that and get away from, we need to get away from renewable and go to reliable, because we're gonna have an area where we're gonna run out of possibilities, and we've got, with AI and all the data centers, we're gonna have to have power for them. Vet diagnostic lab, another priority, that's gonna be fantastic. Yeah, I got that, it's on my list. The vet diagnostic lab, yes, is a priority, gonna be for everyone up there that believes in foreign animal disease prevention. Also affordable adoption, making adoption affordable in Iowa so that we can get these children a loving home and it's not causing financial strife on great loving families that will give them a great start. So we're gonna work on affordable adoption. Again, unemployment reform, which is what the governor hit on, and she did talk about it last session. It was towards the end of session and we had a lot going on. If you remember, we caucused through the night, didn't adjourn until 4 or 5 in the morning. It was a long day. So it just came at the end of session. It's something that's fantastic. Our unemployment reserves are full, and that money should be given back to the companies that pay the unemployment insurance. Number one priority for me in the House is the casino moratorium. And I have to thank, I keep looking at John, because John's Bobby Kaufman's brother, but I have to thank Bobby Kaufman for taking such a strong interest in this and the lead. He ran it last year. We passed it in the House, overwhelming bipartisan support. We are going to run it, I believe, as soon as next week. We hope to run it out of committee. This is something that would cause Riverside to lose 200 jobs. 200 jobs in a county our size is big, and we have to take that very serious. And I appreciate the fact that Cedar Rapids is so passionate about what they want, but we need it here in rural Iowa. And they had first opportunity, right? They turned it down. They decided to serve Cedar Rapids best would be Riverside, Waterloo. There's Meskwaki to that one side, and then you've got Quad Cities to the other side. At that time, that decision was made to serve Cedar Rapids. We should not be able to go back and cannibalize those other casinos that bought in the very beginning and took that chance. And we also don't want to make Iowa a Nevada or a South Dakota or any place like that where you can find a casino on every corner. We need to make our casinos destination casinos, which was the intent in the very beginning. And I think that we need to remind racing and gaming that was our intent, and we intend to hold their feet to the fire. So with that, I don't know what else I have, but I welcome any questions. We've just got a lot going on. It's hard now because you focus on the committees that you're in, and we won't really caucus on other committee stuff until the bills start moving through and we start caucusing before we start voting. So that should probably be, well, casino will probably be week 1, the rest of them might be a little bit longer than that, but. I got 12 seconds left.
Well, I skipped ahead. You guys ran early, but I'm trying to manipulate it here. So, again, we're just gonna go through the room. As in the past, you don't need to stand and give your name this time moving forward. But as we go through, if you have something, question or comment, please do so. Please keep it with 30 seconds. and then we'll try to make sure that we get through everyone who is here. James, would you mind?
You say stand or don't stand?
Stand, please.
Okay.
If you stand, just projects a little bit.
All right, I'm James Graham. I'm from Kelowna, or rural Kelowna. And I don't really have a comment other than, as a conservative, I am a little bit concerned about your tinkering with school board prerogatives as far as the cell phone issue. So basically just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Wilkerson. I'm with KCII Radio. And I also have a question about the cell phone policy because I know most schools already have policies set in place for cell phone usage. I just don't know how your policy would differ from what the school already has in place.
Well, technically, I don't know that the bill has been written yet. Has it been introduced? I don't think it's been introduced, so we have not seen what the exact bill is gonna say. But I know that they've taken input from different superintendents and teachers, and what we are seeing is that they're having a problem sometimes in schools, and I understand what you're saying exactly, because I say that all the time on ed committee, but we get a lot of requests from superintendents and teachers wanting us to set parameters because they can't get everybody to follow the same rules. And what we're seeing is the schools that have implemented a stricter cell phone policy are having better results with student performance, and that they say the minute that phone either vibrates or does anything, makes like the little picture comes up or whatever it is, if the teachers allow them to have them on their desk, that distracts learning, and then it takes the whole rest of the time to get them back into the learning process. So if we can put them away, put them somewhere that the students can't see them, they aren't available to them, because it's not just a matter of having it in their pocket or off, it's the actual vibration. So I don't know what the bill's gonna look like. So we can talk about that at the next forum probably, because I feel like something will come out. And I know that she likes to give people latitude for what they want to see in their schools and what works best for them. So that's really what we try to do, is give them some tools that work best for the community that you're in.
Thank you.
I'm Abe Miller, I'm from Brighton. I'm just glad to see that you're working on property taxes.
You're welcome.
I guess two things. There's a bill in Wyoming right now running about carbon pipelines and stuff. It's called SF 92. Would you please look that up, Dawn?
Sure.
That needs to be something that we need to be focused on. Like Heather said, we need to be focused on reliable energy. I'm glad we basically banned windmills in Washington County. Thank you to the supervisors. Lastly, I would love for your support for Cindy Golding and Kevin Alon's functional gold and silver bill.
Functional gold and silver?
Yeah.
So just, okay.
Did
You
you
can-
say Senate File 92?
Senate File 90, yeah, SF 92 in
Okay.
Wyoming.
Yep. I will look at that. Thank you.
And I'll talk to Cindy about that. I don't know. I mean, she hasn't mentioned it.
Kevin ran it last year.
Okay, perfect.
My name's Hunter Holmeyer. I just thank you guys for your time, and I hope this legislative session is extremely good for everyone. Hopefully not a time wasted for your guys and our time.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Kurt Hora, you got 2 high school students here extremely enthused about your cell phone ban, and they'd like to have a ban at 8 o'clock tonight too. On your vet diagnostic lab and the foreign animal disease, great idea to get the money towards that and continue to put the money there, but we've got to get the workable plan down to the counties, because the swine industry in this county is extremely important, and it's a whole different industry than what the chicken, the birds, and the dairy are, as far as movement of people and animal livestock in the community.
Agree.
Thank you so much.
We've met with Secretary Nag about putting something in place, and we talked about foreign animal disease, African swine fever when I was on the pork board, which was a number of years ago, and we still don't have a functional working plan. And so I would agree with you. It's something that we need to look at and put. I've talked to Iowa State that if the department doesn't act, then Iowa State will try to maybe fill those shoes and put a working plan in place. Because in Washington County, if African swine fever hits, we are in trouble, because right now we don't know what to do. Trustee Hora.
you have a question? Blake, she's. No?
Hi, I'm Charlotte Howard. Sorry, you're I didn't know you were steamed up. I serve on the Washington County Board of Review, and we are the committee that oversees the applications for homeowners that are protesting their taxable values. And I think we all probably know in the recent past, the large increase in the taxes handed down by the Iowa Department of Revenue, where homes were increased anywhere from 25 to 29% all at one time. Well, that didn't make people very happy. So what I'm asking is, can you explain a little bit about what it is that you're looking at now in regards to property taxes?
Well, I can say that, I know that they're looking, because what we did 2 years ago, it was 100 million across the state, as far as property tax reform. And so I believe that there's, and everybody's, as far as the county and the city, as far as those, property taxing agents, there's over 2,000 levies. And so they're looking, as far as levying strings, and they're looking very closely to see, as far as what can we do to make an impact, as far as your property taxes, to eliminate like the huge increases. Because as you know, if we pull at one string, we might have an unintended consequence on the other side. So as far as, what we're looking at or what the plan is, unfortunately, I can't answer that right now. We keep submitting ideas, from what we're hearing from our cities, from our counties. We've met with the county assessors to see what we can do, as far as things that would help. We keep submitting those ideas, and those are all being, compiled together to see and worked on to see what can be done this session. So hopefully at the next forum that we have, I will be able to give a much better, clear answer as far as what path we're looking for. I know that next week we have I have a couple of meetings with, like supervisors that are coming in, and they have some good ideas as far as true property tax reform. And so we'll be looking at all of those things. And like I said, it's just an ongoing work in progress, because the last thing that we want to do is put forward an idea where where one side it's, as far as the cutting property taxes, and then have, an unintended consequence over here on the other side. So that's something that's really important.
Can I have one more comment on that? I also wanted to let everyone know that these increases from the Iowa Department of Revenue are needed and expected. What I think shocked most homeowners is that it's normally done in a closer timeline, and it had been, I'm guessing, I've been in business, my real estate business for 30 years, feels like it had been almost 20 years since the last increase. And so if we would do more across the board, frequent increases, I don't think it would shock the property owners as much. I don't know if that can be controlled or not, but I think it's important to know that.
Perfect.
Amy?
Kind of staying in the same vein of unintended consequences, and related to the 3-year-old preschool. So what considerations are you guys putting forward on the impact, the negative impact that that's gonna have on childcare across the state when those childcare centers lose those children to being in the school? Not that childcare centers are against education by any means, but there are unintended consequences, and what consideration has been given to that?
Again, we have not seen the bill, right?
Right,
Have
no,
you guys?
no.
So we don't know what that bill's gonna say. And we can address it again after it's dropped, because it's so hard to say what parameters she's gonna put in there. So right now, we just don't know. I mean, I would love to answer that, but I just don't know what the bill says.
We can keep you, like in the loop as far as that
we can email you
goes.
once we figure that out.
Once we hear
And
it.
it'll change. I mean, always put in your input, because just because a bill is written does not mean that is the bill that gets passed.
Hunter? No? Moving down, anyone?
I have an earnest question to the
Don't-
city council. just, of course, we're very concerned about tax cuts because we are very proud of our city and we try very hard as a council to get the most bang for our buck. And we've got a huge amount of our money goes to public safety, fire department, and police department, which we have an excellent fire department and police department. And we, of course, want to offer services for our citizens with snow removal and good streets and all of that. And just wanted to make you, I knew you were aware of it, just to remind you that please consider the supervisors and the city council that have big loads that we need to pay for, so. And I think you're dropping the backfill, is that right? Or that's being phased out, so, to send any money back to us to?
I'm not sure about that. Like I said, we've not even met as a Ways and Means Committee yet, as far as that goes. And we are always very aware of, the cities, and that's why, like the last property tax bill, it had a, you, in order to really qualify and have House File 718 affect you, you had to have a growth, a percentage population growth.
Right.
So that way, because we're always mindful and worried about our rural areas, because we would never want to hurt them in any ways. And so you had to have a property growth or a population growth in your community before Senate File 718 affected you.
Okay, just.
Yep.
And I appreciate you being aware of maybe unintended consequences.
Oh, yes, always, yes.
Yep.
That's what we're there for, I always think that it's great, we have a wide gamut of legislators, being a citizen legislature is so important because, we all have outside jobs, we all have, we all have full-time jobs, and this is what we do to give back to our community. And, with Heather and myself, we represent the ag community and, our district so well. I'm a cattle farmer, she's a hog farmer. And, but the most important is, like, we're the rural voices, like we represent our rural community. And so we're always there screaming and fighting for making sure that, more the big cities and the larger communities, don't forget how these legislations will affect us.
All right, back to the third row. Eileen, did you have something?
Yeah. Hi, Eileen Barron, Kelowna, and I appreciate that you're presenting another legislative forum in the evening, in the late afternoon for people who can't make it during lunch, so thank you for that coming up. And I wanted to address food insecurity and school lunches. Washington County food insecurity is about 10%, and child food insecurity is at least more than that, probably 15. I had figures from 2015, but there's a school lunch bill coming through already. Anyway, just hope you'll support the bill to provide school lunches, and wonder about ways that you might adjust that bill, amend it to make it something that you think could pass. Thank you.
Is it a House bill?
It's Senate, I think 58.
Oh, Senate file?
Yeah.
You're not on Ed, so you probably see it.
No.
It probably come through
I might have the
education.
number wrong.
Yeah.
We Heather and I have talked about, like when we go and visit with the schools, that's something that comes up every time was the school lunches. And, that's a federal, that comes from the federal government. And so anything that we could do
To tweak it.
Would be nice, absolutely.
Yeah, we'd like to get more local buy-in on the school lunches. It's just a matter of trying to get around the federal regulations, but as we know, come Monday, we will have a whole new set of federal regulations that, or less federal regulations. So we are looking forward to that and being able to work well with this incoming administration.
Richard Gilmore, Washington. Again, we come up with the Iowa Code doesn't treat bicyclists the same way when they're injured or there's death as motorists or motorcyclists or pedestrians. this needs to be changed to support Ragbri and every other thing. I have brought this continually as the cycling community always seems to be mourning the death of someone that was killed.
Brad Sheets, I have a couple concerns or comments that I'd like to see if you guys could do anything with. Wednesday, Washington had a meeting on possibly going to a 4-day school week. Is there gonna be anything done through education or looking at schools and test scores and how that affects the 4-day school day versus a 5-day school day? And then my second one is, with 2 school districts, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, and what they're doing with schools when they're closed, and as far as not selling those off to highest bids or tearing them down, are those school districts gonna be put their feet to the fire a little bit on that, to where they could be turning some revenue and you know, getting those buildings maybe possibly back on the tax roll and leaving them to where, you know, it's not a burden, and that would help with tax relief?
Yeah, so I will address, we have talked about the 4-day school week in Ed Committee. We are gonna do a study, because we have mixed results. And there's so much more to the 4-day school week than just a 4-day school week. They say it helps with teacher retention. I'm not sure that that has been proven across the board. And we're gonna work with the Department of Education and some other school districts to see what it is statewide and get some real facts behind it. I believe that classroom, how do you wanna say? Classroom condition has more to do with teacher retention than does a 4-day school week. So we're gonna look at all of the options. The other thing that we're gonna put on the table, I believe, this will be a bill that I will introduce, is to allow public schools to run year-round school, K-12 if they want to. Right now they can do it K-8, but we've had a kind of a cry from parents saying I want year-round for my kids, because even from teachers as well, you get more breaks throughout the school year. The retention of knowledge is better for the students. I mean, there's just a whole lot of reasons to allow it. We're not mandating anything, but we're saying at least it would be a possibility for school districts to look at. So if we're gonna put something on the table for parents, we also should look at going to a full 5-day school week. What's wrong with that, right? So in cutting in the PD at a different time, or however you wanna do that. We're also looking at we're gonna take a look at PD as well, professional development. Because I've had teachers tell me that there's professional development that is not professional development, that it is a waste of money, it's a waste of time, and that so much as standing in line and trying to be quiet in order for your, to feel what your students feel or something like that. But anyway, so all of that is on the table in Ed Committee. So, but I appreciate that. What was the other thing you said?
About the schools,
Yeah,
that
are
are being
you
closed.
referencing what happened at Hills?
Yeah.
It
Well,
was
Cedar
terrible,
Rapids had
unfortunately.
some.
And Cedar Rapids too, right? So, we did have a bill last year that the schools were required to sell their buildings to another school if they were interested. I think it only pertained to charter schools. And so right now, we can go back and tweak that and say, if there's another school that is interested in your school, you must sell it. Cause I agree with you, it's a waste. And a lot of times what they'll do is tear down a school and build another school.
Correct.
So what is the point of that? And as a taxpayer, I think you deserve answers for that. So we will look into that for sure.
And moving forward, I'd like to make sure that everybody gets at least a chance to ask a question or make a remark. So then if we've got a time for a second question, we will come back and do that as well. But Kelsey, I'm gonna move forward on that. Yep, so we'll keep moving forward down that road. Ken?
Yeah, I'm Ken Schroeder. I have 2 things. I'm wondering if you're gonna do anything about increasing the funding for public schools, because we've been shorted as compared to inflation for many years now. And the other thing is, if either of you have any plans to start something for clean water, clean up some of the water in our state.
Well, yeah, I don't know what education funding is gonna be. What we've raised education funding, every year, and there's always gonna be the people that say that we don't give enough to the public schools, but, I believe that school funding it is fully funded, and we've never been given a number that what is fully funded, right? So,
I think last year we put $500 million of new taxpayer dollars into public education,
And as compared to inflation, it wasn't keeping up at all. Water.
I don't know if there has been, I haven't seen anything come through the ag committee, as far as a clean water bill. I know that we're always working and looking at, as far as the Nutrient Reduction Act and making sure that we promote clean water. So any ideas, but personally, I haven't seen anything yet this session.
no, but a lot of that will come through the, Department of Ag funding bill. Their budget will, for the nutrient reduction strategy and different, crop share programs and things like that they do through the Department of Agriculture.
And the DNR as well.
And the DNR, yeah. So we'll continue to fund both of those.
Well, I'm gonna take my prerogative as a US citizen, as a taxpayer and a voter and a constituent, and unfortunately not a resident of Washington County. But I am a member of the Department of Transportation Commission, so I'm pleased to hear that they are looking at some increase of their road use tax fund. I know there's a proposal to increase funding for the DOT for an upgrade to the Department of Transportation driver's license, which we all benefit from, so I hope that you will take that into consideration. Thank you.
Sandra Johnson, Washington. Regarding the October 2024 Iowa Department of Education report, 36 new private schools have been started since the voucher initiative began. 16 public schools were closed. 4 new schools created in rural areas, but 13 were built in the Des Moines metro. Follow the money. Rural Iowa is losing out. The communities are losing, like Hills, where the school closed. That will have an impact. I know that you're concerned about rural development and rural sustainability, but it feels to me that continuing to fund at a tune of $235 million plus nearly $750,000 in administrative costs, the voucher program is putting money in the wrong place. What about rural Iowa where there aren't private schools for the misnomer of student choice, school choice program? I'd like to see the return of funds and at the very minimum, a clawback provision where if a student does not complete the entire year in the private school, that the taxpayers receive that $7,800 back, because the public school that takes on this troubled child receives nothing. But the parent gets to keep the money. At the very least, let's develop a clawback. Clawback. Thank you.
The parents, the money actually doesn't go into the hands of the parents, it goes direct to the schools. So the parents, since it's a scholarship, it goes to the school, so the parents don't have any access or anything like that to the money.
The school gets to keep it. If the student doesn't stay, the school does get to keep it.
And as far as
that makes it even easier then
as
to
far
audit
as-
and get that money back from the other school entity, wouldn't you agree?
Did you say that there were 16 schools, public schools that closed?
That was what the October 2024 Iowa Department of Education report says. I found it in multiple news sources.
Right, and some of those were already planned closings. So you gotta keep that
So
in mind as well.
buildings.
They were already on a list to be closed. It
And I
wasn't like
don't
they
think
closed
this
because
number of new schools includes the charter schools. Davenport's got 6 new charters coming up, isn't that correct?
And as a member of the ed committee and a parent, thank you for that. I think that giving school choice to parents and to children to have a school that serves them best is what we should do in the state of Iowa. So that is what the bill was intended for. Create charter schools so that these children who have different needs across the board can go to a school where they have their needs met.
And what about the rural
Thank you,
counties
Sandra.
that don't have
It's Lisa's
those
turn, please.
opportunities?
Thank you. Lisa?
My name is Lisa Nixon, I'm a teacher in Washington, and I have a couple of questions. The Iowa Public Employment Retirement System is important for retaining teachers. Will you protect the current defined benefit plan for new and veteran public educators? And insurance coverage is currently not a mandatory topic of bargaining. Would you be in favor of making insurance a mandatory topic so educators have a voice in insurance coverage?
Well, we haven't talked about that, and I'm not sure anybody introduced a bill for either one of those things, but we have not talked about adding insurance coverage into anything with bargaining. Is that what you were asking?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, we have
In
not.
favor of it?
Huh?
Would you be in favor of it?
I haven't looked into it
Yeah,
enough.
I
mean, I've not
wouldn't
heard
be
that
able to
come
say
up
that I
yet.
am or am not, because we haven't talked about it.
Good afternoon. Thanks again for the work you do. Thanks again for the 50,000 and 62 minimum. The 50,000 minimum for those young teachers, if you could see their faces and or the stresses they're under financially as well, that is a good thing. So I appreciate that. The broken record that I am is SSA. I would love to see that at 3%. And I would really love to see the school calendar again. If Dawn, if you could please do something with that, because this year is just the really odd year that we're gonna be starting 5 days late. When you take a look at the tourism industry, I mean, I think tourism starts in May too, but when you're trying to put your calendar together and you're going past Memorial Day, you know, there's just some give and take there that I think intelligent people in that room, smarter than me, smarter than anybody, knows that 75 to 80% of our kids are active already in schools and in athletics, marching band. They're back at school already. We allow them to go to the state fair. I would really love to see the Tuesday after the state fair ends. I think that would be a great compromise.
Yeah, there's 2 bills in the House right now. Yep.
I hope.
I did the Tuesday.
I know there's other things we can talk about as well. If you ever need anything or research or any of that stuff, let me know, but.
Yeah,
hope
I
we can-
introduced the
Right.
Tuesday again, and I actually know, there was, another senator who did the same bill, but it was Tuesday, Thursday. So, cause I really do understand and appreciate, you know, as far as the pushback, as far as your school start date calendar. I always, you know, I mean, we've talked about this multiple times with the date, you know, I think that was another one of those, when the bill passed, however many, 8 years ago, it was on a Tuesday, you know, so having that hard date in there, but I think that the Tuesday after the state fair or Wednesday, but my bill has Tuesday that we will propose again, so.
I think that'd be fair to everybody, and it gives
Yep.
some local control, it also gives some political control as well. I get the push back and forth in the morning that I don't see, but.
And I think we've talked about this multiple times, you know, that the students are already back anyway, you know, in August, you know, doing the sports and all of that stuff, and just to have a consistent and easier for you guys to be able to
I think that
do
gives
that.
the calendar some flexibility throughout the entire year when they finish, but also during spring breaks and other breaks around the holidays as well. So I think you guys, everybody in that room is smart enough to understand.
Yep. And we have, like I said, we have 2 bills in the House. One is 3 days after the state fair ends, and one is, the Wednesday after the state fair ends. So either way, it's gonna be.
It would be nice. And if there's other stuff, again, just let me know. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Katrina Altenhofen. I'm the director for Hospice of Washington County. We have our 2025 legislative priorities for this year, as well as a direct care worker. The one that we'll have again this year is what we had last year, that guardianship It fell short of making it all the way because some language got changed, so we will be looking at that again, so that way somebody that has a guardianship will also have in a timely fashion, if they need to put a person on hospice or do a do not resuscitate, they're able to do that without having to go to court for 5, 6, 7 months, and not sometimes even a year. So I wanted you to have those. Thank you.
Thank you. I know that we have met, a couple of times about this. Do you know if someone has introduced?
It has not. As of today, it hasn't been introduced yet. There's a couple of senators though that are looking at that, and I can get you guys those names of what they're doing. Last time we did, we put it through, I believe, the Ways and Means, and felt that probably isn't the proper committee, that it needs to go through Health and Human Resources, and so that's where it's gonna go. But I know there's 2 senators that are looking at making the changes to that bill so that it's gonna accommodate the folks that need to have it accommodated for.
Yes, well,
I think,
like.
didn't we talked to you about this last year,
Yep.
didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah, so we
This
both
summer.
support this very
Yep.
much, yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so we can talk afterwards
Yeah.
if you wanna get, cause you were gonna wait until after you met, and, we can make sure that we get the language, or talk to the, HHS committee and make sure that somebody is doing this for you guys.
Perfect. Thanks.
Mhm.
Okay, and then nothing, do you have a question or anything? No. Alright, so then move forward to Kathy. Jared. Joe. Okay, we'll go see our local media, Kaylin.
Hi, Caleb McCain, Washington Evening Journal, or Southeast Iowa Union, whatever you prefer. You mentioned the casino issue. I know that that's largely stuff being worked on by other folks. I'm curious about what y'all would like to see, whether that's like a moratorium that extends the wait, or if that's like a more permanent solution, or just sort of like what you would like to see in a bill that addresses the casino situation.
Well, I think what you'll see in the bill, I have not read the bill, it has not dropped yet, it should drop this week. But what we will have in the bill is parameters around future casinos. The problem is, we need to have parameters such as cannibalization and things that they have to fit in a certain box before another one is ever approved. So not only is the moratorium important, but it is also important to set parameters around what racing and gaming sets their decision based on. So both of those things I think are in this bill that's coming next week.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Allen. I'm from the Kelowna News. My question is kind of about the higher education committee that you started in the House. What motivated the creation of that committee separate from education, and what are your hopes and dreams for that committee?
Well, I served on education last session, and we really spent there is a lot going on in the education arena, right? And so we were spending so much time trying to divide our time between higher education and K-12, pre-K, all of that, that the speaker and Skylar Wheeler, Chair Wheeler, decided that we would break up the education and make a higher ed where it's focused mainly on regional universities, community colleges, private colleges, and kind of taking a deep dive into what they're offering students in Iowa and making sure that it is the best that they can offer. And so that's really, it was a time thing. So there's 5 of us on that committee, the Republicans. So we've got Skylar Wheeler, Steve Holt, Bobby Kaufman, myself, Taylor Collins is the chair. I think those are the 5. And then a couple Democrats. But so then we'll just take a deep dive and look into, you know, what our children and what our students are paying for, and making sure that they're very, very fully aware, and also rooting out any DEI that still exists.
We did not adopt that in the Senate. Like, we kept our education, just because we don't have as many people as they do in the House. So we just kept our education committee the same.
Chief, is there anything that you'd like to question or comment?
Sure. You talked about unintended consequences. The IPERS bill last year for sheriffs and deputies retirement. Do you have a timeline on when that will cover the other protected class under IPERS?
Someone came to me just, I went and did a tour at the public safety in Des Moines. Heather and I both did the other, that was Wednesday.
Yes.
We did that, and we had a couple of officers come up and talk to us about that as far as what they can do, and so we'll see. You know, I told them we would have a meeting this week, and we'll see what we can do for them, you know, as well. So we'll see what their bill looks like.
We'll support anything that supports law enforcement, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Did you have a question then? Comment now? Okay. Then, oh, that's not what's supposed to be. I think we're done here. So, here are the start timer. Thank you all. I really appreciate you guys trying to be mindful so that way everybody has a chance to at least ask a question, be heard. And I know it's not enough time, but we did finish a few minutes early. So I do encourage you to take this opportunity to maybe have a little more intimate conversation with our legislators before they have to leave at 1 o'clock. But before I do, I want to make sure to invite you to our next legislative briefing, which is February 20th, is that correct? At 5:30. Of course, I didn't have that here with me, but we'll do one here in February, and then again, it will be noon in March. If you did not get a chance to sign in, please do so I can send an email reminder to all of you. And again, thank you guys for being here. I much appreciate taking the time
Anytime.
at the Capitol and here with the community. And thank you all for joining us today. And hopefully I will see you in February.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you to Washington Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this meeting today, and thank you to Heather Hora and Don Driscoll for meeting with the constituents here at the City Hall in Washington, Iowa. This episode, I also want to thank you for watching, and I need to thank my sponsors, Griner Auto Body, Car Doctor, McDonald Boneyard, Hinshaw Trailer Sales, Girling Repair, B&B Propane, and the family of Jet Stops, Dutch Market, and Coffee Talk. I'm your host, John Bain. Stay friendly, Southeast Iowa.